All right. We'll do roll call again. Mike Bullier,
Michael Bullier Hebron.
Mike Sharon,
Mike Sharon Hebron.
Joe Coletti,
Joe Coletti Hebron.
Kirsten Erlinson,
Kirsten Erlinson.
Pam Farrington,
Pam Farrington Marlborough.
Carrie Frolino, Drew Golphin,
Drew Golphin, Marlboro.
Gabe Marks,
Gabe Marks Hebron.
Amy Romanchuk,
Amy Romanchuk Marlborough.
Scott Soyette,
Scott Soyette, Andover.
and Heather Summer Hebron. We can stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. Hebron, Andover, and Marlboro community engagement and attendance at BOE public meetings is welcome. The public comment segment of the meeting agenda is set aside so the BOE may receive public comments. Procedurally, public remarks will be limited to 3 minutes and citizens will be asked to identify themselves. Because the BOE is limited by the Freedom of Information Act to discussing only matters on the agenda, the BOE is not permitted to engage in a discussion of the comments presented. Okay, is there anybody who would like to make comment about the proposed 2024-2025 capital improvement budget? Okay. So do we have a recommendation that the board adopt the proposed 2024-2025 capital improvement budget in the amount of $499,777? Mike Sharon,
Second, Gabe Marks.
seconded by Gabe Marks. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, the motion passes. So does anybody have any discussion regarding the 2024-2025 proposed operating budget? Okay, do we have a motion that the board adopt the proposed 2024-2025 operating budget in the amount of $31,294,010? Joe Coletti,
Second by Scott Soyette.
seconded by Scott Soyette. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, the motion passes. Hebron, Andover, and Marlboro community engagement and attendance at BOE public meetings is welcome. The public comment segment of the meeting agenda is set aside so the BOE may receive public comments. Procedurally, public remarks will be limited to 3 minutes and citizens will be asked to identify themselves. Because the BOE is limited by the Freedom of Information Act to discussing only matters on the agenda, the BOE is not permitted to engage in a discussion of the comments presented. Is there anybody that would like to make public comment regarding the two budgets?
So I just, before we adjourn, I just wanted to thank the board for the support of the budget. It's just on behalf of the district, we really appreciate it. The one thing that I just think it's important to make sure I note is that, so the next thing we have to do is we're going to have the special meeting the night before the referendum to move this budget forward to referendum. And then it goes to referendum the following day. So it's in early May that's going to take place. The thing that I just want to remind board members is we're kind of entering a quiet period where we as a board and I as a representative of the board cannot promote the idea of, hey, we need to pass this budget, right? It's important that that doesn't happen. We can inform, but we are not really, we're not supposed to push or promote. So I do plan on having communications to members of the RHAM community, letting them know this is where we are, this is what our current budget is, but it's simply for information purposes. So I just want to make sure that, you know, sometimes people like to do things like write letters to the River East. I know that there are sometimes people like to be vocal in the support of things, which I appreciate. It's just important that we can't really push this budget as far as promoting people and encouraging people to vote for it.
A quick question. You mentioned the River East. Are we going to put a pamphlet in the River
Yeah,
East?
so we're going to do similar to what we did last year. We've been working, actually, I was anticipating having this go smoothly this evening, and we are working with them to get something out. Hopefully, it might not be by this coming one, but yes, we absolutely plan on doing that again.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
I don't remember the pamphlet from other years. What goes in it?
I'm sorry.
What goes in a pamphlet like that?
So basically, it's kind of like a one-page, just here are the high-level pieces of information about information pertaining to the budget. You know, here's what the increase is. Here's efforts that we did to reduce the budget. Here are some changes that we've made. Here's what the budget accomplishes. It's kind of just like a very scaled down version of our 50-page budget book, just high-level information. And we put it into so I'll make it available in different town halls, and then we utilized it and we put it into the River East last year just so people could see it as well.
Anybody else? Okay. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Mike
Lawyer Hebron.
Mike Bollier, a
Drew
second.
Golfin, seconds.
Drew Golfin, a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion passes. Thank you. I'd like to call the public hearing to order. We're here for the annual public hearing on the Regional School District 8 2024-25 proposed operating budget and the 2024-25 capital budget. So we'll start with roll call. Mike Bollier,
Michael Lawyer Hebron.
Mike Sharon,
Mike Sharon, Hebron.
Joe Coletti,
Joe Coletti Hebron.
Kirsten Erlinson,
Kirsten Erlinson, Andover.
Pam Farrington,
Pam Farrington, Marlboro.
Carrie Frolino, Drew Golfin,
Drew Golfin, Marlboro.
Gabe Marks,
Gabe Marks Hebron.
Amy Romanchuk,
Amy Romanchuk, Marlboro.
Scott Soyette,
Scott Soyette, Andover.
and Heather Summer Hebron. So if we can stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to a flag on the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. That's written out. Okay. So I'd like to introduce Dr. McNamara, Regional 8 Superintendent, who will give a presentation on the budget proposals.
So I'll just give good evening, everybody. I'm going to ask Eric to pull up a copy of the slide deck so that we can project it for our audience and on the television screens. And there is a copy of the presentation in front of everybody as well. All set, Eric? Great, thank you. So I am pleased to present the proposed administrative budget for the 2024-2025 fiscal year to members of the RHAM community and to the RHAM Board of Education. The proposed budget for 24-25 is $31,793,787 and represents an overall budget increase of 2.1%. This amount is a combination of a net operating budget of $31,294,010 and a capital budget of $499,777. This amount reflects a decrease. The overall budget reflects a decrease of $165,314 from the budget that had been originally presented to the board this past January. And I appreciate the work of both the board and district staff in their efforts to reduce the budget, and appreciate the support of the RHAM budget when I presented to each of the 3 towns, which I have already done. The audit of the 2022-2023 budget was completed and accepted by the board in February. The Region 8 board voted to allocate the maximum allowable amount of the surplus to the district's capital non-recurring account, which enables us to keep 2% of the total operating budget, or $609,720. These funds are enabling the district to address longstanding issues related to our athletic fields. The additional $830,212 in surplus is being allocated as a credit offset for each town levy for next year. In total, this credit is $119,800 for Andover, $410,291 for Hebron, and $300,122 for Marlborough. And I am very pleased that these credit offsets have significantly reduced the impact of the Region 8 budget on its member towns. There are several drivers increasing the proposed budget over the current years. Significant budget drivers include health insurance, salary increases, special education outplacements, special education transportation. It's a net change increase. There has been a reduction in-district transportation, but there is a reduction for in-district transportation and an increase for out-of-district transportation. Software costs have increased, utility costs have increased, natural gas and electricity, as well as instructional and general supplies. The proposed operating budget also includes some significant reductions. The notable reductions include a principal and interest on our bond payment. The renovation of the campus in 2004 was done through bonding. And for next fiscal year, the total principal and interest payment will be $421,413, which is a decrease of $655,900 from the current fiscal year. This payment amount will be consistent until bonding is paid off at the conclusion of the 26-27 fiscal year. General education transportation is being reduced by $110,000. Purchased and professional services, a reduction of approximately $75,000. And a reduction due to the fact that we are now able to flat fund our Chromebook technology financing cycle. So that reduces our budget by approximately $60,000. The budget also includes personnel changes. The Director of Curriculum and Instruction will be a full-time 12-month administrative position focused on providing leadership in ongoing development and improvement of the entire instructional program for the district. The person in this position will also oversee the planning and implementation of professional development activities for certified staff. Region 8 previously had this administrative position, but it was eliminated through the budget process 5 years ago. The reinstatement of this position would be FTE neutral, as it would allow for the elimination of the curriculum coordinator instructional coach position. Over the past several years, both the number and complexity of projects being managed by the facility director has increased significantly. Considering the age of the facility and its major systems, the number and complexity will only continue to grow. Coupled with the ongoing work associated with annual required inspections, managing 17 staff members, creating purchase orders, approving invoices, and record keeping needed for the budgeting process, the facilities director needs an administrative assistant in managing their significant responsibilities. The addition of this position would provide that support. We have some teaching positions as well, certified staffing positions. We have an additional guitar class that is being offered, which would require us to increase our music staffing department by 0.2 FTE. We also are looking to increase from a 0.8 FTE for an occupational therapist to a 1.0 FTE. This proposed budget would do that. However, it is important to note that 0.4 of that full-time equivalency will be actually contracted out to another school district. So while we're increasing the staffing, we're going to realize some revenue through that contracting, and actually are reducing the FTE that's going to be working with RHAM. Proposed personnel changes also include the reduction of 2 positions. The first is a high school social studies position, where a vacancy is being created by the retirement of a staff member at the conclusion of the current year. The administration always reviews staffing needs through resignations and retirements, and it was determined that this position does not need to be filled and student needs can still be met. The other reduction is a high school study hall monitor, whereas a vacancy is being created by the retirement of a staff member at the conclusion of the current school year, and it was determined the position, at least for next year, does not need to be filled. I think it's important to note that in total, the personnel changes being made for next year result in a reduction of full-time staff by 0.6 FTE. This chart, the chart on the next slide, shows the percentage distribution of the proposed budget by each object category in relation to the total budget. As you can see, 71% of the proposed operating budget is allocated to employee salaries and benefits. These are fixed costs associated with staffing our schools. The funds proposed for next year's capital budget represent a small percent of the actual needs identified. We're getting a refreshed look at what our needs are going to be by going through a facility study that's going to be kicking off fairly soon. That money will help us budget much more accurately and appropriately in future years. The proposed capital budget for next year is $499,777 and is lower than the current year's capital budget. The proposed capital budget will enable the district to improve our safety and security posture, continue to address issues related to the maintenance of buildings' exteriors, and replace aging furniture, fixtures, and equipment. The development of the capital budget was a collaborative effort between district administration and members of the facilities and finance subcommittees, and I appreciate their work in getting that job done. This table on our next slide provides a history of budget increases for Region 8. As you can see, the district has a demonstrated history of fiscal responsibility. School districts across the state and country are contending with rising costs and challenging economic times, and I'm pleased that the proposed budget of a 2.1 is reasonable considering our current circumstances. I will just mention anecdotally that through data that's made available to us through the Connecticut Association of School Business Officers, did I get that right? Officials, thank you. Organization, it is they annually will gather data on budget increases that are proposed by administration and ultimately adopted by the boards of education. I looked at the data today. It's reviewed and updated, and it doesn't represent the entire district, the entire state of Connecticut, but it does represent a significant number of school districts because it's voluntary that districts put their information in. I believe it's currently the average increase that's being adopted by boards of education is a 4.33%. So us coming in at 2.1, we literally are amongst one of the lowest budget increases in the state of Connecticut. I'm really happy to be where we are. Thank you. This table provides the per pupil expenditure for secondary regional school district. Region 8's per pupil expenditure increased slightly from last year. However, we continue to provide high quality educational experience for our students at a cost that is amongst the lowest in the state for secondary regional districts. This graph shows the district's enrollment since 2015, as well as the projected enrollment through the 2033-2034 school year. For the October 2023 report to the state, district enrollment was 1,188. And as you can see, our current projections indicate that enrollment will decrease for the next few years before increasing to numbers exceeding our current enrollment in 4 years. The October 1, 2023 enrollment at RHAM Middle School was 369 students. Enrollment at the middle school is projected to remain steady for the next 3 years before increasing in the 2027-2028 school year. The next slide shows our October 1st, 2023 enrollment at RHAM High School, which was 779 students. High school enrollment is projected to experience a slight decrease through the 2026-2020 school year before gradually increasing and eventually surpassing where our current enrollment is. The next slide shows our elementary projected enrollment, and it is important to note that over the next 10 years, the elementary districts feeding into RHAM are projected to increase their combined enrollment by over 300 students. This graph shows the projected combined elementary enrollment from the districts of Andover, Hebron, and Marlborough through 2033-2034. The projected enrollment growth at the elementary schools that feed into RHAM indicate that RHAM enrollment will continue to grow beyond our current 10-year projections. Finally, I would just like to say that the proposed administrative budget reflects the efforts of district, school administration, department coordinators, the Board of Education, and others to put forward a responsible budget that maintains the high quality educational programming and facilities that the RHAM community has come to expect. It is the result of several months of collaboration between school and district administrators, department coordinators, as intended to provide the public with a clear understanding of the district's programs and priorities. The administration and staff of Regional School District 8 are grateful for the support of the Board of Ed and the communities of Hebron, Andover, and Marlboro to provide RAM to help ensure that our students are receiving a high-quality education. I appreciate the support of the Region 8 Board of Ed and the community of the district and would recommend that the board adopt the budget as presented. And I am certainly able to entertain any questions that people might have.
Does anybody have any questions or comments on the two proposals?
Just one question I just thought of now was would the enrollment numbers change significantly if we pursue this stuff with Columbia? Or are we talking just a few students, or we talk 100?
It wouldn't be 100. I think over a course of a 4-year period, it could add up to 100. But if
But per year is
per year, you're probably looking at potentially 10 to 15 initially. And I think that the theory of the Columbia administration is that number would grow over time.
Okay.
Yeah, my question was just about future negotiations. When is the next salary negotiation with is that?
So it's non-certified staff, and ironically enough, I just got some dates proposed to me by our attorneys. We're trying to work on dates. I'm going to send out a communication to members of the negotiation committee with the first meeting, which we're hoping can be the first week after spring break. That's for our non-certified bargaining units.
Right.
We'll negotiate with the teachers bargaining unit next year, and then we'll negotiate with the administrative bargaining unit the year after that.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Do we have targets ahead of time for that
Targets.
in terms of increases, whether staffing, salary, benefits? We go into that negotiation with a plan?
Well, I've been pretty vocal with the board in the past that I think that we need to work really on having our salary and benefits be more competitive. It's a very competitive market out there. We are seeing teachers and non-certified staff making difficult decisions. I hear it often from people. I love RAM. I love being here, but I have an opportunity to move to a neighboring or a nearby school district and make a substantial pay increase. And so I think that the overall goal would be we want to make sure that we remain competitive. As far as specific strategies when we go into negotiations, it really depends on kind of what the market is looking like, and that can vary from year to year. But we work very closely with our attorneys who represent the district, who really are actively involved in the bargaining process. But again, I've had many conversations with the attorney about that, the fact that I think it's critically important that we make sure that we do competitive from the salary and benefits standpoint for all of our staff.
Are there any other questions or comments from the folks online? Nope. Anybody else? Okay, the board is going to have a special board meeting to finalize the budget in the RAM, here in the RAM Middle School Media Center immediately following this public hearing. Do I have a motion to adjourn the public hearing?
So moved.
Gabe Marks,
seconded.
seconded by Scott Soyette. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay, the motion passes.